What fresh hell do World Rugby, what brilliant law amendments do World Rugby have for us? They have announced some changes that they're going to look to make and take the next step towards some new laws which have recently been trialled to become just the laws of the game overall. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers, and let's talk about this. I can tell you there are some laws I'm okay with, some I absolutely hate. And I'd be really interested to know what you think about what World Rugby have discussed. So get stuck in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, help me spread the word, and hit subscribe. I'd love to earn your subscription. So World Rugby law trials aim to boost speed and entertainment in 2025. World Rugby say these have come from the fans, and it's a fan-focused set of law amendments which have already been implemented and were recently seen during the Rugby Championship, which has finished a couple of weeks ago. And they're going to take the next step towards being just the laws of the game with a global trial, which will probably be ratified next month in November when the World Rugby Committee, or however it works, get together. And then it'll start from January the 1st. So it will probably be in the Six Nations. And then after that, could just get a blanket use across the sport at all levels and around the world. That's where we're at. And there's quite a few things getting discussed. Probably the most contentious one being the 20-minute red card. I will come to that. I will go through some of the ones I'm actually okay with and I agree with in some respects. Some I'm a bit on the fence and some I really am against. So I'll get through those. But I will say, and I'll admit, I don't like change generally. It's just my general disposition. Don't like change. I'm like an oil tanker. I will turn around eventually, but it just takes a while. So I have a healthy dose of cynicism when World Rugby come in with new law changes, because generally I don't like it. And I think in some cases I'd say that's a fair criticism, because there are some that they've brought in the last few years I absolutely hate. The goal line dropout being one of them. I hate it. Just taking it from rugby league, but I don't think it works in rugby union. It's just not fair and right when a team is attacking, knocking on the door, trying to score a try. They get held up, and then they end up back with the ball being booted back over halfway. I am not a fan of it whatsoever. Actually, in this game, what was quite interesting is, rather than just moaning about it as I'm doing, Ireland had a bit of a strike play, which they obviously planned off of a South Africa goal line dropout. I was there at that match. And brilliant it was too. But generally, I hate that law. So some of the laws World Rugby have brought in, I really don't disagree. And also, one of the problems with trying to get people, and I find this with friends and family members, one of the barriers to getting into rugby is just there are so many laws and they are very complicated. And that's okay, I don't mind that for the most part. But there's loads of laws that are already on the books, still on the books, which aren't implemented. And this happens all the time. Let me just pick one as a great example. The put-in at the scrum. In the laws of the game, it says, and I'll just zoom in so you can see what it says. What do you think it says the scrum half has to do with the ball when they put it in? Straight. Put it in straight. When do you ever see that? What's weird is, so I coach my son's team at the weekend. I coach a university team as well. And the lower down you go in levels, the more this law is applied. At the top level, where it matters the most and where you've got, massive scrums that want to get an edge, this law is never implemented. Straight, the ball is meant to go in. So there's loads of laws already on the books that aren't implemented. If you're going to have this law there, World Rugby, use it. Otherwise, get rid of it. That's what I would say first. Before you start adding new laws, why don't you take away the ones that you're not actually using? But let's get on to the ones that they have suggested. And tell me what you think, as I say, in the comments down below. Firstly, reduce conversion time. Conversion attempts are limited to 60 seconds, aligning with penalty kicks, quickening the game pace. So yeah, penalty kicks are 60 seconds. Conversions have been 90 seconds. Now that's been dropped to 60. I'm all for that. I'm okay with it. I actually think there's an argument to say 60 seconds is too long. That said, I'm not the person taking the kick or the team whose result of the match is dependent on that kick. So I have empathy with kickers going through their routine and stuff. But we did see, even last weekend, it was in the French top 14, Baptiste Serran playing for Toulon in a very close game against Clermont. The ball fell over off the tee and he had only a couple of seconds to put the ball back up and kick the kick. And he absolutely nailed it, just off of put the ball down, walk back, kick. like we do when we're, you know, when you go to rugby training and you spend the first 10 minutes before practice just kicking the ball. Just put it down, step back, wallop it. There is an argument that it could be quicker. One other thought is potentially for conversions, the game clock gets stopped until the kickoff. You could still have the 30-second, 60-second, whatever you want to do, time limit, but you just have the game clock stopped so we get to see more rugby. Just another thought. Tell me what you think. But generally speaking, fine, I'm okay with that. Next one, 30-second scrum and line-out limits. Scrums and line-outs must be set within 30 seconds, managed by the referee. I'm a kind of okay with it. I think this is a funny one because, so I mentioned I coach a university team. We have a relatively, like a smaller, more mobile team. So one of the things I always say to the lads is win the race to the scrum, win the race to the line-out, keep the tempo up. So I think there's a lot of teams that it's in their advantage to go through with this, to be the first one set, so you don't give those big guys on the opposition a breather. I will say, whilst I'm for this, there are times in a match, and there are matches that I can remember seeing where, and I'm not a big fan of reset scrums generally, but sometimes the drama of a scrum is amazing. Think back to the Rugby World Cup semi-final. As painful as it is for me to go there again, that scrum, the South Africa won to win the penalty, to win the game, to get to a World Cup final. That was incredible drama. And as long as this is balanced with the fact that the scrum is that is the scrum I was talking about. As long as this is balanced with the fact that the scrum is one of the most important elements of the game, it means it's sport for all shapes and sizes. It can be some of the most incredible drama. There are times in a match where I don't mind, take your time. But I get it. I see what they're trying to do. I just hope there aren't any unintended consequences. And with the fact that before long it may well be the case that you cannot call for a scrum from a free kick, then there's an argument that if you were getting absolutely, like in this scrum with England, if this shot clock had been in play then and England were worried about conceding a penalty, they could have just deliberately slowed down. Oh, I need to take a bit more mud off my boots. Oh, I just need to do up my shoelace. You've taken 30 seconds, free kick, and South Africa cannot call a scrum, and England get the ball back and get to a World Cup final. So there are always loopholes and unintended consequences that could spring from this at some point, but fine. Next one, play on in uncontested lineouts. Play will continue if the ball is not thrown straight during uncontested lineouts. Hallelujah! Honestly, how it's taken till 2024 for this to be the case. I can remember saying this. I can remember loads of people saying this. Go back 10 years and people were saying this. It just makes sense for two reasons. One, if you're not going to compete, then it's just so pedantic to say, no, that wasn't straight, scrum down, opposition ball. It incentivises oppositions to compete. And what does that do? It means that a maul might be more effective. It means there's more defenders tied up, so there's more space elsewhere. It creates opportunities for an attacking team to exploit. So I'm all for this. Protection of the scrum half. Now here we're getting onto the ones which I've got a little bit of an asterisk or question mark next to. Protection of the scrum half. Enhanced protection for the scrum half at scrums, rucks, mauls to encourage fluid open play. This feels a little bit like how the quarterback gets treated in the NFL with kid gloves. Who's asking for this? You already can't touch a scrum half at a breakdown. You can't play the 9, penalty. So teams don't do it. Who's honestly watching a game at the minute and going, oh, the game would be so much better if that scrum half was just left alone a bit? Just feels, I don't know that this is near. The thing I'd kind of like, yeah, whatever, is because I don't think this is going to change the game at all, because I think this already happens. The 9s are well protected. Next one, single stop balls. The ball must be played after one stoppage in a maul, improving game flow. Not a fan. Not a fan. I see what they're trying to do. But again, it's a bit... So you get a lot of people, quite often casual fans of rugby, and I don't want to be like snobby, like everyone's opinion is valid and welcome. But there's a lot of people that criticise kicking in rugby without understanding how important the kicking in rugby is to the brilliant attacking rugby we see. For example, if you don't kick, if you never kick, then a defensive line can just stack 15 men in the defensive line and there's no space. The second you start to kick, then the defence have to start dropping players back. And what does that do? It creates space elsewhere, which you can then attack. So I'd say the same with a maul. The maul is one of the few times, maul and scrums are one of the moments in rugby where lots of players get sucked into one area and space is elsewhere. That's why it's such an important part of rugby. And that's what I don't like about this. Be careful the unintended consequences. So Rob Baxter, I've picked a picture here where Exeter Chiefs are getting scored against. But Exeter Chiefs, their maul traditionally has been brilliant. And Rob Baxter, their head coach, said in an interview, he said, you can always stop a maul. You can always stop a maul. You just have to put enough men in to compete. And that creates space elsewhere. So I'm a big fan of a maul because it is one of the reasons why we see the rapid guys on the outside getting space and time to go and do what they do. So I'll wait and see on that one, but instinctively, not a fan. And then marking inside the 22-metre line. Players can now mark the ball inside the 22-metre line from a restart, encouraging more contestable kickoffs. This is one of those classic cases of the law of unintended consequences. What World Rugby are trying to do is make teams kick short from a kickoff, so we get a contest. And also, I guess, from a player safety point of view, they're trying to stop a situation where players will catch the ball in their own 22 and get a full 10-15 metre run up against defenders that have run 30 metres. Bosh, massive collisions. Is it wrong to say I quite like massive collisions like that? Am I allowed to say that? Is that okay? Am I being irresponsible for saying I really love massive collisions? But the biggest problem with this is fine. If it goes short and there's contestable kicks and stuff, great. But what's very likely to happen, really excited for this game, cannot wait. It's a massive game. There's loads on the line here. 10, 9, 8. The crowd's getting hyped up. Everything's ready to go. The players are ready. 3, 2, 1, kick off. Whoa, massive cheer from the crowd. Player catches it, mark, referee blows his whistle, stop, energy in the stadium, dead. That's more than likely to be the unintended consequence here. So I am preparing myself, although I hope I'm wrong, I really hope I'm wrong, but I am preparing myself to do a slow hand clap and say, well done, World Rugby, well done. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but that's my fear with that one. I just don't think it's necessary, but fine, whatever. Those are the law amendments which have already been trialled in the Rugby Championship and Super Rugby and are going to be rolled out globally. So they'll be in Six Nations and maybe other competitions that happen in 2025, and then it's just generally going to become the law. But there are others which are taking another step just behind it to get into that stage. They're going to get more trials, and that is a simplified red card process and the 20-minute red card. What do you think of that? Where do you stand on the 20-minute red card? So after 20 minutes, a red card is given. After 20 minutes, another player can come on, but not the player who got the red card. I don't mind it. Right, I think a lot of people will disagree with me on this. I think maybe you'll disagree with me. I would always keep 15 on 15. That would be my rule. And actually, whilst I've said, careful of following things they do in other sports and in like the NFL, for example, I would actually do what they do in American sports, where you can eject a player from a game, but the team stays at their full complement. Although hockey's different, isn't it? Where they have sin bins and players do go off and they have power plays. I think I prefer this to where it is, where like in the World Cup final, a player goes off after 5 minutes and then it's 75 minutes of 15 against 14. Just hear me out. What about a situation where, actually, I've got a lot of thoughts on cards. Firstly, why do we do 2 yellow cards means a red card? So let's say you get done for one infringement, because you get a yellow card for not a full wrap on a tackle, and you go off and you sit your 10 minutes on the naughty step, then you come back on, and then the referee gives a warning, next penalty, and you go in and you're the person thinking you're jackling for the ball, but it's the team penalty, you get a yellow card, then you get a red card. Why do we do 2 yellow cards equals a red card? Why can't we just have yellow card means 10 minutes, and you could get 4 of them in a game? That means you spend half the game off the pitch. It's only because football do it that we have 2 yellow cards means a red card. I don't see the point. I don't understand it. So I would have a yellow card is a yellow card offence, a red card is a red card offence. And a red card offence should mean something pretty bad. So I think a player should be able to get as many yellow cards as they want in a game, because a yellow card offence, they're not malicious, they're not egregious foul play, they're not stuff that you need to be ejected from a game for. So that's just one thought I'm just putting there. That's one thing I'd like to see change, is that if you get 2 yellow cards, it doesn't mean it's a red card automatically, because that's just what football do. But why does that make any difference in rugby? Anyway, that's off the point. 20-minute red card, fine. I'm kind of okay with it. I think, broadly speaking, it's better than what we currently have. That's my opinion. Partly because what gets you a red card now is much less than what it used to. It used to be the case that a red card was for a punch, a stamp, something really bad. Now it's for moments of where you just mistime something by a fraction of a second accidentally, and you end up with a red card. But for that same reason, that's why I would have a red card means, and I'd like to see this trialled perhaps as well, because I think I would prefer it to this. A red card just means that player is out of the game. Now, some people's issue with a 20-minute red card, and certainly their issue with my idea, would be that would mean it would incentivise people to go out and commit foul play deliberately in order to try and win the game. There's not enough of a deterrent. I call BS on that. If you've played the game and you know people that play the game, you know that that's just not the case, especially when the sanctions for deliberate or reckless foul play are really quite severe. You can get a long ban, which can massively affect your whole career as a player. Just ask a guy like Dylan Hartley, who missed out on British and Irish Lions tours, missed out on World Cups, maybe not World Cups, but definitely Lions tours, because of red cards for, really bad things like bad mouthing a referee. Really tough sanctions. You can't get away with it. So I don't buy into that argument, but I'd also quite like, instinctively, I just want to keep 15 versus 15, especially when a lot of the red cards that are given now, think of Sam Cane in a Rugby World Cup final, it was nothing malicious in that. It was just mistimed, a little bit off. Some of them as well, when it's marginal, one ref might have given a yellow, one ref might have given a red. Just keep it 15 v 15, like they do in the NFL. But a player gets ejected, you can't play again, and you're likely to cop a pretty severe ban afterwards that means you won't play for a few weeks. That would be my thoughts on that one, but I appreciate a lot of people would disagree with me on that. So there we go. What are your thoughts on what World Rugby are suggesting for 2025? Is it all milk and honey and great stuff and entertainment for the fans? Or are there some potential banana skins lurking that they haven't thought about yet? Your thoughts in the comments down below. I'll see you on the next one.